because we're all talking about doing bigger, better things, right? We're not talking some basic stuff. We're talking about going big, more money, more impact. Those type of things require you to work with life, right? So when you can hold alignment with that, then you can start to watch how life is responding to you. And because anytime we want to have a major shift, it's a new idea, a new connection, or a new opportunity. So we've got to be aware of that. And if we're patient and we enjoy watching life unfold, we actually start to accelerate faster.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go.
Welcome to Inside the Hive with Kyle and Brandon. Join us as we explore business, real estate, current events, and personal growth. We dive into the latest trends, offer valuable insight, and share stories. Thanks for tuning in. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
How did you start off? What was a little bit about your background? Where are you from? You said you grew up in California, and I just was curious.
Yeah, I grew up in Diamond Bar.
Okay.
You know, and I've been in California until 3 years ago when I moved to Texas.
Okay.
But I started in technology sales.
Oh, really?
I worked at Ingram Micro.
Oh, right.
In the
Right.
mid
Okay.
90s, yeah. Back when Ingram Micro was a lot of fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like 20. I was like 27, working at a call center and like vendors free drink. It was so much fun. So much fun. They actually had to implement drink ticket limits because too many employees were getting DUIs after all the events.
That was a heck of a problem to have with it.
It was fun. It was before the PC market bombed at the end of '99.
But ruined everything.
A lot of fun. So I was in technology sales for the next 14 years. 2008, I'm working in Northern California for a company called Avaya, which is a telecom company. I'm the territory sales manager, my territory engineer. It's a buddy of mine. We start working together. He's into racing. We uncover this idea, and we literally start a company by inventing a product, which was a race car driver cooling suits.
Really?
Suits that cool race car drivers.
That's cool.
I saw something though about you wanting to go to school for engineering or something.
I went to school I went to Cal Poly 3 years. I was still a freshman.
Oh,
You know,
sounds like my maturity at ASU, man.
so I left and went into sales. You know, it was not my calling, right, at all.
You didn't pursue that at all then.
I tried because all my dad and all his uncles were engineers. So when I was smart
And good at science and math, but I was done with school. Yeah,
Got it,
I was
yeah.
done with school. So I started working, got into tech sales. So we had this company, which was called 986, and we founded that. And I raised about $500,000 in funding, invented some products, and I didn't know that much about running a company 14 years ago. You know, quite like I didn't know. Right? So I hired a Tony Robbins coach to help me kind of be a better leader of that business. And then a year and a half later, on a call, and that coach asks me a question, and he says, and the coach's name is Michael Savage. He's an amazing coach, and he said to me, "Have you ever thought about becoming a coach?"
Fully.
And when he asked me that question, it was like I got struck by lightning. It was like in that moment, my life changed. And I was like, because I had basically I could be the top 10% of anything without trying very hard, but I never really found anything I loved. And back then I was like, I want to make money so I can retire and stop working. That's when I realized you only want to retire and stop working when you haven't found the work you're supposed to do yet.
I agree with that.
When I discovered coaching, I got lit up. I was like, oh my God, I can do this professionally. And literally 4 months later, I was in the Tony Robbins coach training program.
Okay, we're seeing Tony Robbins in San Diego next week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I've never seen him before. Never been to those. Oh, geez, that's just thing.
Is that a UPW?
What
it's
is
like
that?
We're a member of the entrepreneur organization, like
Okay.
EO, and he's coming to do some special event
For
in San
1,000
Diego.
people, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
So,
Nice.
but I'm pretty pumped.
Yeah, no, you get a lot out of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
participate.
Yeah.
It'll be good. Yeah.
It's a short one. It's like 3 or 4 hours or something. But
Yeah.
That's short?
Yeah.
4 hours? Okay.
yeah, it's
For
super
Tony, that's
fun.
short. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, he does these like all weekend weeks. I don't know. I've
Yeah.
had friends that go to them, but
Very cool.
fascinating.
So you were in the coaching program? That's okay.
Coaching team at Tony Robbins for about 3 years. Yeah, and that's kind of how I started and started coaching there. And it was challenging becoming a coach because we were living in the Bay Area and we had our first child, and my wife was due with our second. She was running a small business out of our house, and we decided to move to Sacramento to reduce our rent or our cost of living so she could stay home with the kids. So she stayed home. We moved there, and a week later, I get laid off from my job. It was a consulting job. And then also the same week, I get invited into a Tony Robbins coach training program.
Okay.
And the startup had kind of cleaned up all my money. So it was like build a business with a gun to your head.
Mm.
So it was challenging. Like at one point we were on food assistance from the state. I had my wife come home and say, our card was declined and somebody else bought us groceries. Right. So we've been through that. And actually what happened, one of the things that really changed everything was the following year. I was struggling financially because Tony Robbins coaching doesn't pay a lot, and it also takes you a while to ramp up.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I'm trying to make money. So I'm trying to sell my own coaching business at the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm struggling. And I'm talking to another coach on the team one day, and I'm like, I need $2,000 this week to pay rent. and I don't have it. He's like, okay, go get it. I'm like, yes, I'm going to go do it. And he goes, okay, now go post it on the Tony Robbins coaching Facebook team page where we all communicate with all the coaches
Yeah.
and all the leadership team that you're going to get $2,000 this week or you're going to eat a can of dog food.
Really?
That's what he challenged me to do. And
Accountability.
and he challenged me to do that. And keep in mind, the whole coaching team was a big like head game, a lot of politics and like getting ahead there. So trying to look really good was what every coach was trying to do.
Okay.
You know, so I'd been coaching on the team less than 6 months. This is like February or March 2014. And he says, put that on Facebook. And I'm like, it's coming out.
Yeah.
When is coming out? And he's a brilliant coach. His name is Gabriel Patrick. And he said, he knew my son was 3 years old. And he says, Jason, how are you going to feel in 10 years if Dash is hanging out after school with his buddies and his buddies say, hey, why do you live with your grandma? And Dash says, oh, because my dad wasn't willing to eat dog food to create financial independence.
Oh boy.
Just like, boom.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm in. I'm in. So I said yes. And the entire week, my stomach is like twisting in knots, like just twisting. And I'm like, oh, and I get to Friday and I closed 2 contracts. And I closed 2 contracts for $2,500. But both of the clients was late Friday. They're like, can I pay you Monday? And I was not going to kill the deal by forcing it. I'm like, absolutely, you can pay me Monday. So I technically failed the challenge. So Saturday morning, I go into my office and I'm like, okay, I'm going to record this video. I'm going to eat the dog food. And and we're talking generic liver flavor out of a spoon. And so I go and I made a decision in that moment. I had this pivot. I had this moment because all this content that comes to me comes from these moments.
Okay.
And this moment was like, this is not a punishment. This is me doing something disgusting because I said I'm going to do it.
Okay.
And I started to eat the dog food and I got about half of it down. I didn't know there were chunks of bone in dog food.
I did not know that either,
Yeah,
man.
so never tried. Yeah, so it's kind of hard. So I got about 3/4 away and I stopped. And literally the part of me that thought it was okay to set big goals and not achieve them died that week.
Okay.
So we get to July 1st, 120 coaches on the Tony Robbins team. The number one metric is renewals. How many of your clients renew? And after this July 1st, I was number 1 out of 120 coaches. 100% of my clients renewed.
Okay.
So that was kind of the catalyst that kind of started pushing me to the top. And along the way, I started to evolve the coaching style because I found better ways.
You know, I'm not really familiar with the Tony Robbins coaching program. How does that work? You sign up. It's a career. You're going to try to get other people to coach. They train you on how to do it. Can you walk us through that a little?
How it works?
Yeah, the program works and what you said 120 or 150 people.
It works to be a coach? Or
to be a coach, and then what the goal is of trying to be a coach.
Well, basically, it's just any type of recruiting process, right? Okay. And then they have there's like when I went through, there was 8 weeks of virtual training and then a 1 week training, and then you start getting clients and they kind of ramp you up there.
Got it.
But they take it very seriously, right? Because there's times when people have called and said, I've got a gun in my hand. Why should I not use it?
Oh,
right.
Gotcha.
So they take it very seriously. So there's a lot of really intense training there. But it's the foundation of what I am today.
Okay. Yeah. When it comes to coaching, is it just broad? You can coach anything or anyone, or is it specific types of things? Is it somebody's goal? Like, can you explain a little bit about how the coaching process works a little bit?
Coaching is like helping people go from point A to point B. Okay. Right. What we do differently than everybody else is how we do it. Right. So the process is, from our point of view, the coaching that we're doing is technically mindset coaching, which is technically life coaching. But pretty much me and every coach on my team has a ton of business experience. So we do business coaching as well. So at JDC, it's life coaching, mindset coaching, and business coaching. And to kind of describe the differences in the coaching methodologies, like this is the radical breakthrough of how this happened. And I can tell the story later of how I discovered frame shifting. But if you think about it like this, like let's say you're not getting the results you want. Okay. If you're not getting the results you want, you're not taking the right actions, right? You either are not taking the right actions or you don't know what actions to take. And what happens in that situation is we try to find the right action. We get obsessed over the action. We look at mentors, we listen to podcasts because we know at the end of the day, there's an action to take that's going to get the result. So we end up fixating all of our time focusing on the action. Yeah. But the thing you want to understand is if you're not getting the results, it's because you're not taking the right actions. If you're not taking the right actions, you're in the wrong mindset. And if you're in the wrong mindset, you're in the wrong frame. Okay. Now, my big breakthrough was the frame level because frame is the level above mindset. Tony Robbins and all the other results-based coaches out there coach at the mindset and action level, which is really forced accountability coaching, basically, right? What we're doing is alignment coaching. Frame is the frequency of you. The frequency of you creates the frequency of your thoughts, which is your mindset, which creates your actions, which creates your results. Kyle could be in a happy frequency.
Okay.
Happy thoughts, happy actions. Sad frequency, sad thoughts, sad actions, right? You could be in a 50% certain frame, I can hit this business target this quarter and have the subsequent mindset and action, or you could be 100% certain, right?
Okay.
And when your frame is 100% certain, that's aligned with the target. It activates the law of attraction, and that's the version of you that will hit the target. So when everybody's trying to hit their targets and they're doing something, it's usually they're doing bigger, better things they've never done before. They don't know how to do it, and they think it's an action problem. It's actually not an action problem. They're in the wrong frame.
Interesting.
They are in a version of them that doesn't have the answer.
Is this to do with the difference between alignment and just grinding through
Yes.
something?
Yes,
Okay.
100%. Because grinding is basically pick a target, work hard, repeat.
Which is all over social media, which is all over everything. It's just you got to wake up, grind, like rise and grind. That's
Yeah.
all I hear every day. But
Yes.
grind in what direction? Grind in what?
Well,
Grind.
that's the point, right? You can be pointed in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So if you go back to frame, right, like, and we look at your goal, like, how certain are you can you hit your target? If let's say you're 70% certain you can hit your target, that's like the address in your car's GPS being 70% right, trying to drive cross country. And if it's a big goal, you're trying to go coast to coast. So what ends up happening is that we get lost. We have to ask for directions. But as entrepreneurs, we're comfortable operating with 30% certainty or 70% certainty because we believe in ourselves. But unfortunately, we're pointed in the wrong direction. What I've figured out how to do is how to coach people into alignment so they start in alignment and stay in alignment. Because when you move into the frame that's aligned with the target, that frame will eventually create the mindset that creates the action that knows what to do.
It's very fascinating.
So this is why it's called alignment coaching. And that's why I don't do, the only time I'll do forced accountability is if someone is in massive like trauma or reaction to the past and they can't take ownership of their life, or it's something basic like dieting or exercise.
I've heard of like the flow. Is alignment and flow similar? It's the same type of thing?
Yeah, because when you get
Okay.
into alignment, you get naturally inspired action because
Got
the strategy on what to do is the byproduct of alignment.
Okay.
We've all had times where we didn't know what to do, and all of a sudden, boom, it's crystal clear.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, that epiphany,
Yes.
that type.
that's
okay.
alignment, right? So
Okay.
it's, and the way to help conceptualize it, it's almost think like multiversions of you, right? If you're like the Spider-Man movie, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So imagine you're like 80% certain. That's a version of you that will never hit the target, ever. It doesn't matter what actions you take. It will never shift until you move into the aligned version.
Really?
And the thing that prevents, so then you've got, why am I 80% certain and not 100?
Okay.
So you've got one belief that's 100% certain that says I can do it, and I've got another belief that's 20% negative that says I can't. What that looks like is you set a goal, I'm going to go do this, and 2 seconds later, doubt creeps in.
Mm-hmm.
What that doubt actually is the past reference in your mindset. You're going outside your comfort zone, and your nervous system is triggering your survival mechanism because your brain's wired for survival, not success. So what we do is we just remove the resistance.
Interesting. I feel like the obvious question here is like how to get into alignment. How do you do that?
Yeah,
'Cause I
well,
feel like that's a lot to unpack.
Yeah,
Probably a loaded question.
It's alignment is not something you construct. It's something you remove the resistance to.
Okay. Interesting. Remove the resistance to. Remove
Yeah.
that block that's in your
The
mind.
contradiction, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of like Abraham Hicks.
Yep.
She's big on this stuff where
Mhm.
my beliefs align with my desires. And I think that's some of that, but it is easier said than done. But
Yeah.
yeah, I believe I can do this.
Yeah.
I desire I can do this. But it's tough. I mean, Kyle and I just jumped into kind of a new arena this last couple of years too. And it's been a different mind shift. It's unknown territory to us,
It is.
you know, and there's doubts there sometimes.
Yeah, because your brain's cataloging everything that's gone into it for however long you've been alive, and that creates your model of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Beliefs actually reside in the mindset, not the frame level. And the reason we all struggle is because we haven't been taught how to change our beliefs.
Okay.
Right?
I feel like it's hard to change beliefs at all, or it's hard to change someone else's beliefs too.
Well, it's hard to change beliefs which are in the mindset from the level of mindset.
okay.
Mindset is the byproduct of frame.
Okay.
So all you have to do is move into aligned frame, and then it'll create an aligned mindset. Like before I discovered frame about 4 years ago, I discovered a belief change process because Tony Robbins never taught me how to change a belief. He taught me how to change their emotional state.
Really?
So like, yes, you make your move. You're in a peak emotional state. You get a temporary belief structure change, and you can take different action. The challenge, though, is trying to stay in that peak state all the time is impossible.
Yeah.
The only person who can do that is Tony Robbins. Right?
He does
So I was actually getting my first company turned into a lawsuit, actually. I got caught in an investor divorce,
Okay.
this frivolous lawsuit, and I was having panic attacks. And I was sitting at my desk one day, and I'm like, every time Terry calls my attorney, it's bad news. And I was like, I don't like that. I crossed it out, and all of a sudden I felt lighter. And I realized by taking ownership of my reality, I could change beliefs just by taking ownership of them. So you got to take ownership of it, you got to identify it, then you got to put in a replacement. And I started coaching every single one of my Tony Robbins clients like that. And the results just started going boom, 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 boom.
What was that one more time? You said ownership of it, you replace.
Take ownership.
Okay.
Because the way Tony had talked about beliefs was you have to battle them,
Yeah.
right? But you don't. Like, you can control everything inside you, right? It's inside me. I can control it. Because what we don't realize is our entire perception of reality is based on beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And we can change all of that. So all of your rules about how you work are based on your beliefs.
Okay.
So I basically started changing all my rules about how my brain works so that I could change beliefs faster.
And beliefs are a result of the past, what's happened to you in the past, like a pattern or something
Yeah,
like that?
it's
just
a-
anything.
It's a justification or an excuse of
Yeah.
something that happens. Yeah. And it's either positive or negative.
So changing that's got to be very difficult, though. But you said with the framework.
It's actually not that hard. It's once you know how to do it, like, because if you look at all the results-based coachings that are trying to change mindset from the level of mindset, they do repetitions, incantations, all this stuff,
Okay.
which is because it's hard to recondition mindset from the level of mindset. But the mindset they're trying to change is in a frame that's out of alignment. So what I'm doing is just moving to a frame where it's aligned.
Okay. Well, talk a little bit about that. How do you go to aligning a frame, and how to go? How do you start that? If you met me for the first time,
Well,
hey Kyle, we got some work to do.
Yeah. We can do it right now, right? And so we frame shift all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We do. It's like frequency shift, right?
Yeah.
We change emotions. Most of the time, our frame shifts are triggered by our external reality or our patterns. You go into work, you respond this way. Right?
Yeah.
So that's usually what I'm showing people how to do is to consciously choose that, right? So let me tell you how I came up with a story for how I discovered it, and then I'll show you how to do it because it'll make more sense.
I like that.
So 2020, Jason Drees coaching was just Jason Drees. I started working with Brandon Turner.
Okay.
I get a bunch of clients. I get to August and I'm like, I had 65 clients in my own business. And I was like, this is awesome. I've never met anybody who had 65 clients.
Look
in their
good.
business. I was crushing it. Yeah, it was awesome. And then all of a sudden Brandon goes, do you want to be on the Bigger Pockets podcast? And I'm like, sure.
It's a great opportunity.
Get on the Bigger Pockets podcast. And Jason Drees coaching is still Jason Drees. And then all of a sudden, the next 30 days, 192 people book in an intro session.
Oh.
And we're like, so I basically hired 3 coaches, a sales rep, an ops person, built all those systems in the next 4 weeks. I also did my first group coaching program, the Mindset Academy with Brandon Turner in November and December. Get to November, I got 65 clients. And my business, meanwhile, is 10xing in this quarter over the previous year. Went from 100,000 to 1 million in that quarter. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, this is so amazing. Don't screw anything up. Don't screw it up. Don't screw it up. Don't screw it up. But I'm completely and totally overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
My head is spinning, so spinning. And I was sitting there going, and I had another moment. And it goes, well, today's November 1st, but on August 1st, you had everything dialed in. But if I took Jason from 10 years ago and brought him to August 1st, he'd be completely overwhelmed. So that tells me there's a Jason from the future who could come to November 1st and be completely in control. And when I thought about that, I just put someone, not much, just like the future version of me, I felt lighter. The doubt went away, confidence went up, and I had more positive emotions. And I basically did my first frame shift. So we can shift frequencies with our focus. And most of us don't know how to do that. But the way to frame shift is like this. So
It's almost like you're seeing it through a different lens.
I use, when I tell people to do it, I'll say, get a sense of. And when I say get a sense, like, when you're at a stoplight and you're driving and you're looking ahead, and they look at you, they're looking at you. You're using a sense, but it's not one of your 5 senses, right? Like that type of sense. So can you, Kyle and Brandon, get a sense of a version of you today, tomorrow, next week, sometime in the future who understands frame shifting more than you do now?
Yes.
Okay. Can you get a sense of a future version of you today, tomorrow, next week who understands frame shifting more than you do now and could give a lecture on it if you wanted to?
Yeah. I mean,
can you sense that version?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little difficult. I mean, to give a lecture on frame shifting, but I can see. Yeah.
I didn't say give the lecture. I said sense the version of you that could.
Got it. Okay.
Can you sense that version?
Yeah.
Now, if you just notice, can you sense the presence of that version in the room? Do you see it?
I feel like there's a future version of me that's like an expert at this now or something.
Yeah, but which direction is it? Is it right? Because for everybody, when I do this, it's different for everybody. Like they can, so again, right? Get a sense of future version of you.
Okay.
who understands frame shifting more than you do now and has been using it for 6 months. Can you sense the presence of that version?
I think so. Defer to Brandon. What do you got? What do you got?
I don't know.
It's there. It's
I
there.
thought-
But the reason why I say that is because I think the way our brain makes this work is like whenever I'm doing it, my frames are always to the left.
Really? Okay.
Some people it's to the right. Some people it's up. Some people it's down. It's like different for everybody. And about 98% of people can get it. Can actually sense the presence of it.
You know what I'm just thinking of it, just sitting here, it's like above me.
Yeah.
So I think of like something in the future or anything like that. It's like above me. That's where I go.
And now you can keep a percentage of your attention on that frame
Yeah.
while you're still listening to me. And once you set the frame, you can forget about it, but the frame shift takes about a minute. So just keep your attention on that for like a minute and you'll shift into that version.
Fascinating. Okay.
And then you're in a different frequency, then you start thinking different thoughts. And then you're like, well, every day I normally go to lunch and I get a salad. Today I'm going In-N-Out, and you go to In-N-Out, and now you meet a connection that changes the game.
Okay. So many questions now.
I do
Dude,
this
that's
to
like,
people,
I had it like, I felt like I had a path I was going on here, and you just took me in and out. Now I'm all, but how did this, I mean, did you come up with this yourself, just like an epiphany? Is there data based on this? Is there other scientists in the back? I'm just curious about the origin of such a different, viewpoint. Is that what you call it? A different?
Well, clearly this is my path to because I can't stop talking about it.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like
It's very intriguing too.
What it feels like to me is it feels like I figured out how life works 5 minutes before everyone else does. That's what it feels like.
Okay.
But pretty much every piece of content that comes out of me came about through coaching. I'd be on a coaching call and I would say something and go, holy, wow, that was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And the client would say, yeah, can you repeat that? And I'm like, no, I can't because it was in flow. So I was like, for a long time, I was recording everything I was saying.
That happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
I'm always talking to Brandon about business ideas,
Yes.
and he even stops me. He says, are you writing this down? Do you have a tape recorder? Because
Yes.
he'll ask me an hour later,
Yeah.
and I have no idea what I just said.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened. So that's the flow. That's
It's
when you're
flow.
in.
That's in the flow state. But I'm channeling this from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't exist in me. It's a flow of information that I tap into.
Well, that's okay. That's really interesting. So that's what you mean by the flow. Is it's you're channeling information and it's just coming out.
It's not really a conscious thought. It's just when I'm working and coaching, it comes up.
So I have been in flow states before.
100%.
100%. Okay. Yeah.
We all have flow states. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But with thinking of the mindset, or thinking of, that framework, and then that's how you would get into a flow state. Can you consciously make yourself get into a flow state, or is it something that is a practice, or how does
It depends what type of flow.
Okay.
Right. If it's a flow that you could control, then yes. If it's a flow that comes to you in certain spurts, then probably not.
Brandon, you were telling me earlier this morning about certain entrepreneurs that are doing these extreme sports early in the morning to like get their mindset into a certain flow. Is that?
Yeah. I saw this big up in like the Bay Area with these tech companies. These entrepreneurs would go do whether it's extreme surfing or mountain biking.
I had never heard of this.
Yeah.
Super adrenaline pumping, and then go to the office and they could get into this flow state and the ideas are flowing and they're just jamming out or coding, whatever they're focused on.
Interesting. Yeah. No, I haven't heard of that, but I can understand if you like exert yourself mentally, then you because flow a lot of times will come when you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
Like the theta brainwave state, like when you're brushing your teeth or doing something mundane. That's typically where the brainwave of flow actually comes in.
Yeah.
But I've never tried to get into flow states, but you can. Frame shifting basically shifts to whatever version you want.
Interesting.
And if you're not able to do it, it's probably because you don't believe you can. And then we just need to change those beliefs so it works.
Okay. I have a bunch of questions, but then now I feel like I'm almost taking down a different path here.
It happens on every
podcast. Every podcast, because now my wheels are turning in my brain of like, okay, you're just dropping bombs, man. I mean, back to like the grind, which we see why do we see this constant get up and grind type of thing? Where did this come from? And now you're pushing more towards the shift of this framework, which now I like it when I just heard it for the first time. Yeah. Where did this come from then? Like, why is this? I mean, it's like an epidemic or something of just wake up and grind and into what?
It's really simple, actually. We teach grinding because we don't know what the formula for success is.
So just work hard and you're going to be successful.
Because what's the formula for success? Work hard.
Yeah.
We've all been conditioned to work hard. What I discovered in 2019 was that hard work doesn't create success. Alignment with success creates success.
I very much agree with that.
Hard work simply gives you more opportunities to get into alignment with success.
Yeah.
But it's not a prerequisite.
That was that saying, opportunity and hard work equals luck or something like that. Yeah.
But it's because nobody knows any differently. Because then and if you see the person, the influencer, and they're being interviewed on the podcast, how'd you create success? And they're going to talk about their habits.
Yeah.
Because they don't know the exact formula.
Yeah.
So people start copying their habits.
Yeah.
And they, but it doesn't work because everybody's different.
The sum of the 5 people that you surround yourself
Yeah.
with or something like that.
Yeah. And it's also, now the grinding part is good for masculine energy, like being, because masculinity is really being challenged today.
Yeah.
And all of us men are being called up, right? So there are times when doing that is a good thing. Cold showers are good because it gets to work that masculinity, but it's not a requirement for success.
Yeah. What is the requirement for success? Aligning with success?
Just alignment with it. That's it.
Sounds pretty simple.
It is pretty simple.
Yeah. I had someone, we said we had someone on the podcast and we're talking about information. Now we have ChatGPT, but now everybody can get information. But information, if that made you rich, everybody would be rich right now, but it's not. If intelligence made you rich, there's a lot of smart people in the world that are not rich. So I kind of get what you're saying is like there's all these things people think are what make you successful, but I don't know. They don't seem to.
Yeah. So they copy the habits of the mentor.
Copy the habits of those people.
And then what happens is they copy the habits of the mentor. They sign up for their 12-week course. They get the routine. They start doing the routine and they start missing days. Then they start thinking the reason I'm getting success is because I'm not following the formula, because that prerequisite becomes a condition.
Okay.
So then they're trying to think and then literally this has nothing to do with their success, and they get stuck in this tangent on the side trying to create success by copying somebody else. That's why that's why the vast majority of advice from mentors doesn't work.
Okay.
Brandon Turner has been trying to tell everybody how to be a real estate investor for a decade. He's literally given them everything.
Yeah.
Does that turn them all into real estate? No.
No.
And because what comes out of his head is like version 500 real estate mindset.
Yeah.
And you get somebody new with version 2 real estate mindset, the software won't run.
That makes a lot of sense. That brings me to a question.
That's where you use mindset coaching to fill the gap. But yeah.
Okay. Well, what challenges do you typically face when coaching such individuals, high net worth or level 2, as you said, and did they have limited beliefs when they come into you? How do you work on getting started with someone like
it's not a challenge for me.
Okay.
The only thing challenging for me is when clients don't show up.
Okay.
Or they're not opening up.
I got that problem too.
They're not showing up for the calls, or they're not doing the work or not being open, right?
Yeah.
Those are no fun to coach because they're not going anywhere. But really it's just a simple part of the process. The coaching that I'm doing is a lot of education. And I talk way more than every other coach says. Like if you look at the Coaches Training Institute and like clients should be talking the whole time. But I discovered that I've never been able to ask a question and have somebody answer on a higher frequency.
When you talk about frequency, what is
like a higher frame, higher version of them?
Higher version
of them, yeah. Because they're at this level. So what I think is actually happening when I'm coaching is I hold this alignment frequency of this elevated version of them. Like my gift is holding the alignment of the next level of you, whatever that is. And I basically hold it and pull clients up to it when they're coaching with me.
Really?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you switch like their beliefs? Like they don't believe in that. How do you switch that?
You just use it. Well, I ask them if they want to change their beliefs.
Okay.
And if they want to change their beliefs, then I use a repeat after me or belief change process.
So is that kind of in that mindset realm then?
Yeah,
like
100%.
Got to change that
100%.
mindset?
Yeah. But we're starting in the frame level of ownership, so we make it easier. But it's a normal part of the process, and also as the guy with the name on the side of the wall, I have a lot of rapport with clients. So
for sure,
when the coaches on my team have to work a little bit harder.
I could see that. And if anybody listening to this right now, if they wanted to start this, what would you suggest for them to do to try to get into that frequency framework?
I'd say read my book.
That's a good answer.
Read my book. Yeah. You listen to the podcast. Really, the easiest way to learn it is to hire a coach on my team.
Okay.
Because we're basically teaching people how to do this.
So once someone hired a coach on your team, what does that process look like? I'm sure there's initial meetings, and then how does it work?
That's pretty simple. We do you do an intake questionnaire.
Okay.
We do a DISC personality strengths assessment.
Okay, I've done that before. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we basically do a kickoff call, and we have 2 to 3 calls a month.
2 to 3 calls a month?
Yeah.
Hour-long calls type of thing? Or?
We typically are 60 or 90 minutes per month. Those are our contracts. Yeah.
All right. And then is it these group calls or individual?
That's one-on-one.
One-on-one. Okay. So they're talking about what their goals are, their aspirations, what they're trying to accomplish in life, and then we're trying to work through that. Is that
what'll typically start is they'll have an intake questionnaire, and we usually will default to their 90-day goals is where we'll start.
Yeah.
And the first thing we'll usually do is raise the 90-day goals
Oh, nice.
because they'll come in here and they're not high enough. And so the question we ask to raise the goal is, if success was guaranteed and you could not fail, what would you do? Because that question bypasses your fear.
Yeah.
That's the level you should be playing at. So we put people to that level. And what happens is they go into immediate overwhelm. They literally go home the next day and their head blows up.
It's funny you just said
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Not to interrupt what you're saying,
Yeah.
but I just thought of like what I would,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, owning like billions of dollars worth of
Yes.
real estate, things like that.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, oh shit, that's a lot. I gotta, but that's interesting. It's
Yeah.
like if there's no,
So that was the doubt.
it was almost the doubt crept in.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm owning billions of dollars of real estate,
Yeah.
shopping centers nationwide. I'm like, well, that's a lot. We may not have the infrastructure. I got to build up to that and that type of thing.
So that's the part you need to remove.
That's the part,
The secondary voice. Let's focus on the first one.
Shit, I might become a client here. So.
It happens. So we raise the bar. We push them to that. The reason we raise the bar is because we want to expose all the holes in their game.
Okay.
Because if you go to your full potential, it'll expose all the holes in your game. And so that we use coaching to plug all those holes. So instead of operating at 80% capacity, you're now operating at 100.
Got it.
Because most people don't play at their full potential because it's too uncomfortable to do so.
Yeah.
Got it. When I was looking at your website and all your stuff, it said you had like a 5-step framework.
Mhm.
And I was wondering if you could walk us through that, or maybe share a success
Yeah.
story or anything like that about that framework, so we could get an idea.
The framework is basically where we apply alignment, right?
Okay.
So the first step is like, what is alignment? And the beautiful thing about this methodology, as a client, the only thing you have to learn is alignment. That's it. And we just apply it everywhere, right? So we have alignment, and then we have alignment with success. Alignment with success is like business, leadership, finances, everything around hitting your goals. Then we have alignment with yourself. That's a big piece. Sometimes I'll get clients whose income stop growing because they need to get more in alignment with themselves, right? Then you have alignment with other people. Then you have alignment with life. And during coaching, that's where the misalignment comes up in each of those areas.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
Yeah. I get a question like, as far as, is like that getting into that, changing your framework, is that something that's like ever growing, or, like people, they need to be kind of reminded of this constantly? Like that's kind of more that mindset feel, but do they get to that and they go through your coaching program? Do they need to come back and kind of be reminded, like, hey, you get these disbeliefs out of your head? And
Yeah. Good question, right? It does take a while to condition it in because we're so wired for action, right? And the thing is, we want to start conditioning ourselves to take, before we start taking action, we take a moment, just get into alignment, then take action, right? So that takes time because we're breaking down decades of patterns right there, right? But what usually happens is the average client will not need us on a daily basis after about 18 months to 2 years.
okay.
My clients that have been with me for 3 or 4 years, most of them have doubled and tripled their income in the past 18 months.
No kidding. How can someone identify if they're in the wrong mental framework?
They're feeling doubt, they're feeling negative emotion, they're feeling fear.
Okay.
So that, yeah.
You talk a lot about like excuses. I saw. Is that like a lot of the, you just don't believe in that it's possible, and you're just feeding yourself this?
Yeah. Like, because our entire perception of reality is based on our stories, our beliefs. And one example, for example, let's say you went, like when you were in 4th grade, your TV broke. So you didn't have anything to do but study. So for 3 days you studied and you aced the test.
Yeah.
You now understand that if I study for 3 days, I can ace everything. Opposite, you could say, if I study for 3 days and I still failed, then I'm stupid. Right. Okay. So then those are the stories that, and usually they're taught by parents or other people, but the story is basically created to justify what just happened to you, to make you not crazy, basically. So it always directs the blame back to us. And the stories are our reality. So reshaping your stories is how you change your reality.
And that's something during your coaching program, like you're trying to reshape.
That's one of the foundations of it, actually. Yeah, because
it would have to be.
What we don't realize is the language we speak. Like if I say I'm going to lose weight, that's in the future. Like I'll give you an example. Like I turned 50 in December, and I hadn't worked out in probably like 10 years, and I was out of shape. And about 14 months ago, I realized I'm like, okay, I need to get in shape. I need to start working out, but I still didn't want to.
Yeah.
So I started telling myself every single day, I frame shifted that I work out every day. Frame shifted every day, work out every day. I just told myself I'm working out every day, even though I wasn't. A few weeks later, I go to a workshop with one of the other coaches on my team. He works out all the time. I go to the gym with him, work out, and I've worked out 5 days a week for the past 14 months.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Hey, you look like you, man, Mark.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I put on like 15
gonna
pounds of muscle.
yeah,
Yeah,
I was gonna
yeah.
say, you don't look like you're
Yeah.
50. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But that's how it works. Yeah.
So that frame shifting, I feel like there must be some techniques or things like that that you have to help people frame shift. Is there anything like that? Or is it just like kind of coaching and talking about it? Or is there?
It's really just get a sense of that version.
Okay.
It's literally that simple, and you just put your attention on that version.
All right. What are your thoughts on like goal boards and vision boards and things like that? Or is that just
Well, if I've never been one to like write down my goals.
okay?
And for the longest time, I told everybody I don't have goals. And then my wife was like, wait a second, that's ridiculous. Like my goals are not goals. They're new realities that haven't happened yet. So then I just don't write them down. If some people who like to write them down that way, that's fantastic. Like you do what works for you.
Did you just say your goal, the realities that haven't happened yet?
Yeah.
So I say that sometimes.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I say that to my wife. Is just well, we're already like millionaires. The money's just not in the account right now, but it's already. But it's like and she just looks at me like that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, you just don't understand. That was it. And I saw someone Kanye West one time. He was going into a building. He's like, yeah, I'm a platinum recording like a platinum recording artist. I just don't have the plaque on the wall quite yet. I haven't done a song. It was like that mentality, that mindset.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's the version of you that will get the result.
Yeah.
Because what we've been doing prior to this is we've been chasing the result.
Mm-hmm.
So if you come in and your goal is to grow your business, the first goal you set in coaching isn't to grow your business.
Yeah.
The first goal is to become the version of you that knows how. So it's really about becoming the version of you that has it. And then you start in that frequency, we activate the law of attraction. Law of attraction starts triggering different thoughts.
I'm starting to understand now what you mean. I see this a lot in like professional sports.
Yeah.
So it's how to visualize that you won a race or that you're going to throw this touchdown or hit this home run. I used to do that playing baseball. Yeah. Visualize that I'm going to do this. And then it comes true. Fighters do it all the time.
Yeah. Like remember when Conor McGregor came on
I was about to say,
he was like, I'm the best.
I'm the best ever.
Notorious for that.
He was speaking the reality of the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you can't speak it into, you have to speak it into reality.
Yes.
Yes.
Got to say it out loud.
Oh, well, now I love this. That's great. That's powerful stuff.
It is.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to touch on that we didn't hit on? I'd like the techniques thing and to learn more about the techniques on how to get into that mindset personally. If you have any suggestions on stuff like that.
Well, it's the thing. Frame shifting. We all frame shift.
Okay.
Like literally putting your focus on a version of you in the future that's making more money or has a bigger client or whatever you want to be. Just literally putting your attention on that for 30 seconds to a minute will shift you. Where we typically get stumbled up is when we try to pull the answer out of that frame too fast, right? So you may frame shift and the new mindset and ideas may pop up instantly. They may pop up next week. They may pop up next year, depending how far the goal is. So the real key to us operating this way is patience. And really, because when we start to go, because we're all talking about doing bigger, better things, right? We're not talking some basic stuff. We're talking about going big, more money, more impact. Those type of things require you to work with life, right? So when you can hold alignment with that, then you can start to watch how life is responding to you. And because anytime we want to have a major shift, it's a new idea, a new connection, or a new opportunity. So we've got to be aware of that. And if we're patient and we enjoy watching life unfold, we actually start to accelerate faster.
Really? Okay.
Because rushing slows the process.
Rushing slows the process.
Yes. Rushing slows the process.
Okay.
Because rushing is trying to skip a section. You can't skip a section.
Okay.
When does time fly? Time flies when you're on vacation.
Yeah.
Right?
You're having fun?
So when you're savoring it, it goes fast. So if you savor your challenges, they'll go through them faster. Rushing slows it down.
Well, that's interesting.
Wow.
Okay.
Because our growth is like, being a human is like climbing an infinite staircase that never ends.
Yeah, no kidding.
We're constantly, and there's always another level.
Mm-hmm.
And when we no longer in these bodies, we'll be on some other body, right? But we're gonna be going. And let's say you get to a section that's metal steps with no handrail and they're all iced over. And you try to skip over that because it sucks and you just keep falling down.
Yeah.
Right. So when it's rushing is where people get caught up. And the problem with rushing typically comes from resistance to point A.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, they don't like their reality where they are right now. They want to do something about it. It creates tremendous drive.
Yeah.
But it makes it impossible for you to be present.
So doing like the frame shift and then kind of watching it unfold on some level.
Yeah. And wherever you are right now, the best place you can be is accepting this is what it looks like today. I may not like it, but this is what it is. Because if you're in resistance to it, in a state of resistance, emotional reaction, you can't frame shift when you're in reaction.
It's fascinating stuff.
Oh.
I don't know how I came up with all this
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, so it's like you just kind of came up with this all on your own about going back to the beginning. From the Tony Robbins coaching, you realized they're missing something. There was like some part that's missing here that needs to be that you identified.
He was coaching up to the mindset level.
Okay.
I discovered how to coach at the frame level.
And the mindset level, just so we're all clear and for listeners and stuff, that's more like the emotional level.
It's beliefs and all that stuff,
Okay.
right? But really, it's getting to a state of ownership of your reality is a higher level than mindset. You're taking ownership of everything, and it was that ownership that made me to start changing the beliefs.
Okay.
So basically, I was trying to help clients change their beliefs because I realized it was all beliefs was the problem.
Yeah.
But his tools would only work temporarily.
Okay. And where would like visualization come in? Is that more like the framework that we're talking about, like visualizing yourself in certain?
We have to be cautious with visualizing because visualization occurs at the mindset level.
Oh,
So you can't frame shift from visualization. And also, like, let's say, like some people love the vivid vision, right? You know,
yeah.
Brandon's vivid vision was awesome. But you know what happened when he left Bigger Pockets? He was blank.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
Because his vivid vision before, he was in the known. When you're in the unknown, you don't get this 3-year plan. You get breadcrumbs. Right? So that's why if you can't see the vision of your future, it's because the vision resides in a higher frequency version of you that you are not yet.
Okay.
And when you become that version, then you'll get the vision.
So you've worked with some high profile clients, Brandon Turner being one of them. But could you share some of the biggest mindset breakthroughs that you've witnessed with high profile clients? You don't have to share their names or anything, but is there any like big things that you've helped with and all of a sudden they went out and did this or anything like that you?
It's hard to say because they do so much, right? You
They
know,
do.
And it happens like I had a client the other day who basically grew up without a lot of money. So he developed a pattern of, you know, I need to never stop working, basically. You know, and he's successful and he's older and he's doing great, but he couldn't get off the hamster wheel because he was wired that way. So we had one phone call. I did a series of repeat after me's with him, and all of a sudden he's just like, oh, just like it's gone, just like
Really?
that. Yeah. Because I don't know, I have the ability to basically help people rewrite their mindset, and when you do it, it's a permanent change in your subconscious mind. Like it's permanent change.
Okay.
So I see it. It's hard to point it out because I see it all the time.
Huh. Interesting.
Oh.
So it sounds like a common thing that you've mentioned a few times is saying it out loud, speaking it into existence. So that must be, I mean, pretty powerful then.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I was at Tony Robbins, we did incantations. Like, now I am the voice. I'll lead, not follow. Believe, not doubt. I do them over and over again, right? But I realized in the past, like 6 years, that when I was doing those incantations, I was doing them from a place of they're not permanent unless I'm continuing to do them. And I was like, that's silly. I want to do it one time and make it permanent. So I started changing the structure of the language of the repeat after me's.
Okay.
And I created a methodology that rewrites the old one and puts a new one in place
Okay.
so that you can reprogram it and only have to do it one time. My book, chapter 13 of my book is 25 pages of those repeat after me's. So if you read my book and read all those out loud, it'll radically transform your mindset.
And you got the one book, and what changed from the first one to you're getting ready to launch a second one now?
Yeah.
Just a lot of new.
Well, yeah, because that book was published 2 years ago.
Okay.
And so it was written 2.5 years ago.
Mhm.
So there's my understanding of frame shifting and my ability to communicate it has got a lot, and alignment has radically changed.
Yeah.
So the whole alignment wasn't a big thing in that book,
Okay.
but framing was in there. But now I understand it's all about alignment. That's the key.
I had one here from, I don't know if I like this, from our interns.
Yeah.
They're like, if you're going to ask a
Give us
question,
stuff, yeah.
Go for it.
So now I got to go back and be like, who is it? What?
Yeah.
For those feeling burned out, sweet.
Yeah.
What are some practical ways they can start embracing a more intentional and aligned path to success?
Well, that's a good question.
It's a
right?
good question.
It is a good question.
And I'm curious who's burned out, but it's but that's all right.
And when, you know, and what this also shows up like in coaching is
Yeah.
like, I'm not passionate anymore. My passion's gone. It's like, no, how many hours did you sleep last night? 4? What about this? So usually burnout is from being tired.
Yeah.
So you need to rest, right? You need to rest. And when we're in certain situations, we're like, we can't stop. So we end up grinding 14 hours a day, but we're getting average results. Like when you don't understand that frequency creates reality, it's hard to do that. When you understand frequency creates your reality, not action, you can understand that taking the day off is far greater for your success than grinding.
Yeah.
Because when you're burnt out, you're grinding gears.
Oh, 100%.
And what happens is we'll start working and like nobody takes breaks anymore.
Yeah.
Like nobody does. And then by 3:00 in the afternoon, you're writing 4 emails at the same time.
Yeah.
This one, because your brain literally has no more ability to focus.
Jeez.
So if you were to like, and I know this sounds crazy, take a 20-minute break in the morning, take 45 minutes at lunch and 20 minutes in the afternoon, your productivity would go up like 20%.
I can attest to that.
Yeah.
I do.
But the 20-minute break is no input.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
no phone. It's like nothing. It's like
Just sitting there just staring out at the.
Go for a walk. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think I've noticed myself burns out around 2 to 3 a little bit throughout the day, and I got to like take a break, or it's just nonsense that's coming out of me. But I think I'm a little worse. I think that I go days at a time. I talked about this on a podcast a couple of weeks ago about sprints, about how I'm going 7-10 days in a row, just as hard as I can. And then I'll hit a wall and I need to go almost like on a 3-day, hotel, stay a little mini vacation or something to reset. And that's like, I mean, something similar, but that's probably like a bigger scale. That's I got to work on that, but
work hard, play hard, right?
Work hard. Yeah.
Yeah. The rest is important. Like muscle recovery, muscles grow during rest.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's true.
For sure. This has been a pretty fascinating topic. I didn't really understand how far we would jump into this about mindset and framework and so forth. But how's the company doing right now? I mean, how many employees you have? How's everything going with it?
We are adapting to the market, is what I'll say.
Okay.
We're the good news is we're profitable. We basically shifted. We had been selling fixed length coaching contracts.
Okay.
Like 6,000, 10,000 type of thing.
Yeah.
And then literally in February, people stopped buying them.
Yeah.
Because everybody's just so tight right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we switched over to a subscription model. So
how's that going?
Month to month. It's doing pretty well. We basically had some investors helping us the first half of this year.
Yeah.
And now we've made some adjustments in the business and we're cash flow positive now. So
that's
we're
great.
cash flow positive, and I'm really focusing on rebuilding my group coaching program. Because my Mindset Academy group coaching program, I used to deliver it all the time, but it kind of faded a little bit over the past year. But right now it seems like the majority of the audience can't afford coaching right now.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm putting more focus on the group coaching, because there's still a ton of power in that and it's more accessible.
Yeah, for sure. Is this something that can be accessed nationwide and
Globally.
It's globally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everything mostly online, virtual calls, things like that. Is there an in-person type of version, or?
This one is currently, occasionally we'll do in-person events, but
Okay.
this is based, Mindset Academy is virtual, it's Zoom based. We do a call, an hour call once a week. I do a couple calls, I do a fundamental call, and at the top of every month we have a 7-day challenge.
7-day challenge?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Like make it a little competitive.
Make it competitive, keep
Yeah.
them engaged. Yeah.
Keep it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah. What's keeping you busy right now, man? Is the book and when's that expected to come out? And
It's I'd like to say sooner than later,
Yeah.
but I've been
happens.
knee deep in the business right now because
Okay.
Yeah.
with this, it's been really interesting because people don't want intro sessions with salespeople.
Yeah.
They want them with the influencer now.
Oh, I
Because
100%.
because they
They
can get them.
want
So,
you,
I,
yeah.
so I'm doing. So that's what's working right now. So
Yeah.
I'm doing sales calls.
We're in
Gotcha.
we're in
Yeah,
multiple like coaching programs, things like that.
Yeah.
Now Mindset's gonna be another one.
Yeah.
I think I'm signing
But,
up.
I mean, Rich Summers,
Absolutely.
we're on
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
7-figure creator one.
Yeah.
Scott's a friend of ours. He's doing some AI marketing types of things that we're on. We did sales for a while, but they're very powerful. Even the group communities about how you can bounce ideas off each other and things like that. And so I've always found it very helpful.
I like
So-
the group idea. It's
I like the group
the
idea.
community, and everyone's kind of bouncing ideas. And this worked for me. This didn't work for me, and it's been
Yeah.
super helpful.
It's one of the 3 components of success that I think is like you've got mentors who kind of can show you what's possible. You've got coaches who can help you make it happen. Then you got community.
Yeah.
And most companies out there only do 2 of those.
Hmm.
So you get mentoring and coaching, or coaching and community. So having
Okay.
all 3 is a really good way. And because there's different types of coaching too, right? There's strategy coaching
Yeah.
where they're like teaching you how to flip houses. Then there's mindset coaching,
Yeah.
right? So you kind of need both.
I was curious. Is it mostly business owners, entrepreneurs that are coming to you? Is it athletes? Is it? I mean, what do we?
Our client, we're like 80% are entrepreneurs or wannabe.
Got it. Okay.
Then we have high earning W-2 members. We're probably 2/3 of our client are men, 1/3 are women.
Okay.
But of the entrepreneurs, I'd say like 80% are real estate investors.
Oh, no kidding.
And that's
Oh.
why business, we took a big dive in the past 18 months because
Real
Oh,
estate's
gotcha.
real estate doesn't have any money right now.
those interest rates are a little brutal at the moment. We're feeling it as well.
Yeah, my high level masterminds are down like 70%. We had to stop running them because nobody could afford them anymore. So,
Yeah. Once those drop, that'll pick right back up, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm hoping this election will change things. So.
Yeah, we are too. We are too.
Yeah.
Yeah. At your height here, how many clients did you have, and how many were you at one time?
Oh,
Probably coaching wise.
I don't know. We've had thousands through
Thousands.
the program.
Yeah.
At one time, we're usually around a few hundred active at one time. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. That's super fascinating. I want to learn more. I
Awesome.
think I'll read that book actually. I should do that.
It's such an in-depth topic.
Yeah.
I feel like that is so fascinating, probably for so many people, because you hear every one of my friends, everybody that looks at, they turn on social media, look at their phone on social media, and it's just a motivational quote: rise and grind, get after it, work, work, work. And you have big influencers with millions of followers saying, just, don't be a wuss. Like, let's jump into it. And I think people really are adopting that and saying, no, I just gotta push. But then when I talk to them, they don't know sometimes what direction to go, and they don't know where they're going. They don't know. And I feel, 'cause I feel kind of bad. I'm like, you guys are working your ass off.
Yeah.
In the wrong way, or you're not doing the right things. And that mental part of it, I feel could help. It's huge. It could help so many people.
Yeah, like especially around money.
Yeah.
Financial mindset is like is really a big
People are afraid of money.
barometer that holds people back.
Yeah.
Right. And people don't realize that when we start to earn at the top where we've ever made before is when we typically will self-sabotage.
Yeah.
So having a
Why
mind,
is that?
it's because it's a comfort zone thing.
Yeah.
Right. It's when you get at the edge of the comfort zone, our nature is to back off.
Yeah. And imposter syndrome sets in, like it shouldn't have been me, or this was a fluke, or something like that.
Yeah. Imposter syndrome, I found, is a step in the cycle.
Oh, is it?
In that it returns. It always returns. But if we look at imposter syndrome and what it really means, it means I've created more success than I think I should have.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good thing. So we should actually celebrate imposter syndrome, right? But as you start to grow bigger and you start to go out on your own and build your own brand and be the influencer, like it's putting yourself out there. You got to be okay with that. And then there's also the branding side of it too, and it's
so imposter syndrome, that happens to everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. Thought it was just me.
in different phases. Like I find it like I had felt it 6 months ago and I didn't feel it for like 2 years. But it's a part of the cycle because we're getting to a higher frequency, but then there's the range of what you go through. You're doing it here, then here, then here, then here, then here, as you keep going up and up and up and up.
You mentioned the cycle. What is the cycle? What is the?
I haven't fully defined the cycle yet. Maybe that's new
Oh,
content
okay.
that's coming out.
Okay.
But that is a part where people start to question themselves,
Okay.
right? Question themselves, believe in yourself. And that's a big part of it because that's usually when you have doubt.
Yeah.
You've got to get into certainty to hit the target.
So funny you said that. Are you familiar with the Dunning-Kruger effect?
No.
Okay, so it's like a chart, and there's like this cliff, and I think it was coined by some psychologist or something like that. And you're on this cliff, and you're super confident. It's a new idea. You're up here, and you're thinking this is easy. You don't really know the details, but as you learn more, you actually start to go down to this valley of despair. Yes. It's like you start learning all the details and the issues and the things, and this business was harder than I thought it was going to be. Yeah. But if you keep going through it, all of a sudden you learn and you start becoming the expert. Yeah. And you're back on the other side of the cliff, the same confidence you had before. Yeah. And it's like that cycle of that. And then you're like, oh, look what I just accomplished. And I always found that very interesting, that false confidence at first can get you started. And you realize, oh shoot, I might be in over my head, and then you learn the process, and you come out the other side.
Yeah,
so,
it makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
it sounds like the cycle you were talking about.
It's part of the cycle.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I think we've taken up about almost an hour of your time here. A lot to unpack. I think I feel like I'm going to be studying up on this for a while. Nice. But I mean, we really appreciate you being here and doing this. Can't wait for your second book to come out. But Jason, thank you so much for everything and teaching us about framework.
You're welcome, Kyle and Brandon. Thanks for the invite. It was a fun conversation.
3, 2, 1.